Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is commemorate. Let's take a look at some of the definitions or ways that we use this verb. The first way you might hear commemorate used is to mean to recall and show respect for someone or something. So, with this particular definition, you might sort of link it to the verb remember, but it's more than just remembering, right? It's the second piece of respecting. You're going to see, I think, a little later discussion about the word honor. So, generally, this is something important that we are trying to recall and respect. A second way you'll hear commemorate used is to mean to celebrate an event, a person, or a situation by doing something. With many holidays and anniversaries of significant events, you will see this verb used. Again, kind of tying to this idea of we're going to celebrate this important day, perhaps an event, or even a person who had a significant or important impact on a group of people or a community. A third way you'll hear commemorate used is to mean to serve as a memorial for something. So, many times with this definition, I think about, again, a community maybe commemorating the memory of an important citizen, maybe someone who volunteered a lot or who served as an elected official for many years and gave of their time. You should know that commemorate is a regular verb. To make the progressive tense, we're going to drop the E and then add ing to form commemorating. The past tense and participle forms of this verb can be made by adding the letter D, since this verb already ends in an E. Our base verb, commemorate, ends in a T sound. So our past tense ending is going to make an id sound. And this means we're adding an extra syllable as we say this past tense and participle form of the verb. It should sound like this: commemorated, commemorated. Now, there aren't any additional phrasal verbs that we need to study and learn, so we can move on to looking at some sample sentences with our verb commemorate. Today, we're going to practice the simple past tense and the future progressive or the future continuous. Let's start with the simple past tense. We use this verb tense to talk about a completed action, and generally that completed action is at a known point in the past tense. Sometimes there are time signals like dates or the words yesterday, last week, last month that indicate that this is a known time. But we don't have to keep repeating those time signals as we have a discussion or read a particular passage. The nice thing about the simple past tense is that our structure is going to be the same no matter what our subject is. So we're going to have our subject, and then we're going to have that ed form of the verb in the affirmative. Okay? An example of that might be, we commemorated those who sacrificed their lives for the United States on Memorial Day in May. Right? So this is very much an act we do each year, and many groups of people just completed this action a few weeks ago. They may have attended events where people spoke about military service. Many cemeteries have events. They put flags at the graves of soldiers who have passed fighting for the country. All of those things help us sort of remember and pay our respects. In the negative simple past tense, our structure is going to be our subject, then did not, and then the base verb. So notice no ed here in the negative. An example of this. In 2018, the president didn't commemorate Veterans Day with a trip to Arlington Cemetery. Okay, so we've got a time signal there indicating that this is the past tense. And you might notice I use the contraction form of did not, didn't. Very common in spoken English and more informal situations. Finally, if you want to make a yes or no question in the simple past tense, start with did, then we're going to have our subject, and then the base verb. So again, no ed here in our yes or no question. We're only using that ed ending in the affirmative. Here's an example of a yes or no question. Did the town commemorate the historic flood? Okay, so were there ceremonies, were there events designed to sort of honor and remember? Now, let's take a look at the future progressive. We use this verb tense to talk about an action that will be in progress or will be continuing at some point in the future. Our structure for the future progressive is also going to be the same no matter what our subject is. So we'll have our subject, then we're going to use will, then the verb be, and then we use the ing form of our main verb in this sentence. Okay, so an example of this. Many people will be commemorating the end of slavery on June 19th or Juneteenth, a new U.S. federal holiday. This may be news to you, but just last year, a new federal holiday was created to honor the complete end to slavery in the United States, and that's this holiday, Juneteenth. So people will be doing different things to recall and respect the events on that particular at that particular time, and not only that, but just I think recognizing um, all the lives lost through the process of slavery and just how what a horrific experience that was for an untold number of people. Now, if we want to make a negative future progressive sentence, our structure is going to be our subject, then will not be, and then our ing form of the verb. You might hear the contraction for will not, that's won't. You can see that in my example here. Indigenous groups won't be commemorating Canada Day on July 1st. I saw a sentence very close to this as I was sort of scanning the news and looking for instances where this verb commemorate has been used. I am not Canadian. I've never lived in Canada. But from my reading, it's my understanding there are a lot of Indigenous groups and other citizens sort of reckoning or dealing with these difficult issues of how Indigenous people were treated for hundreds of years in Canada. Particularly what happened at schools where Indigenous children were sent as well. So, sort of in protest of what has or hasn't been done to sort of pay respect and remember those individuals. Some groups have now said, we're not going to honor and pay respect to this other day for those reasons. Finally, you can make a yes or no question in the future progressive. Our structure here is going to be to start with will, then we'll have our subject, then be, and then our ing form of the verb. Here's an example. Will you be commemorating any special people or events soon? Okay. So this is something I think that can bring a lot of people together, kind of talking about the ways we honor and celebrate important events, people in our different cultures and different countries as well. Now, let's spend a little time looking at some words that are related to our verb commemorate. And the first word we're going to look at is the noun commemoration. We can use this noun to just mean remembrance. An example of this could be, on Sunday, the governor of Florida ordered flags be lowered in commemoration of the 6th anniversary of the Pulse nightclub massacre. Now, if you don't know what that is, I'm very sorry to share that 49 people were murdered at a nightclub in in the state of Florida 6 years ago. They were members of the LGBTQ community largely, and targeted because of that. And so now there are different remembrances occurring each year on the anniversary of that horrific event. Another way we can use the noun commemoration is to refer to a ceremony or some type of celebration in which a person or an event is remembered. Okay, so we just did a question in the future progressive. Another way to sort of ask that question might be, will you participate in any commemorations this year? So that would have about the same meaning. Another word you might hear is commemorator. This is a noun. That OR ending is telling us this is a person who commemorates something or could be someone. An example of this might be commemorators gathered with signs and candles at the courthouse. And so we're referring to a group of people who have gathered to remember someone or some event. Another related word you might hear is commemorative. This can be used as both an adjective and a noun. When we use it as an adjective, we are describing something that is acting as a memorial or some type of mark of an event or maybe a person. An example of this might be the dedicated community members' volunteerism was celebrated with a commemorative plaque in the park. So here, commemorative is describing plaque. You might think of this as kind of like a metal sign. It could be made out of other materials, but right, something that's going to last a long time, not just a piece of paper. When we use the word commemorative as a noun, we're generally referring to some object. You might hear commemorative used to describe stamps or coins or other things. And again, these things are made in order to honor a person or remember some type of event. I just had a friend who was in London during the Platinum Jubilee. And so if I was talking to her, one question I could ask her is, did you buy any commemoratives while you were in London? There were all kinds of, I think, specialty coins and stamps, and I think even like potato chips in honor of this particular event and this milestone as well. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.